Well, what appealed to me was just reading the script and thinking that it was an exciting story and being able to kind of imagine a family in a situation like this, because it seems like the sort of thing that you read about in the paper or see on the news, that a family finds itself sort of, in all this political upheaval, and you're just trying to survive.
Yeah, and I've never been a part of a movie quite like this ever, and especially the fact that the film was being shot in such an exotic location that I've never had the luxury of being able to go to that part of the planet and to begin with. So that just it was quite exotic as a project for me in general. So that was alluring. But then upon reading the script and understanding what the Dowdles wanted to do with it, that emotionally, the audience is very much invested in these people, and these quite ordinary people that are very relatable under these incredibly extraordinary and quite insane circumstances. That was exciting to me.
It also felt like something that I hadn't seen in a while. Like you kind of see sort of, okay, one guy kind of running for his life or trying to survive, but seeing a family in this situation and being able to sort of imagine, having children of my own, imagining kind of what would you do if your children were threatened like this.
And I think that what makes it unique is that these are also people who are messy in their attempts of trying to survive. So for me, that's very relatable. Like I am not, and nor is Owen, we are not professional sort of kung fu artists, so it would be, well, okay, fine. I'm not.
Thank you.
But, I think that it makes it all the more, that makes the stakes so much higher because you don't really know if they will get through it. Whilst, in other stories depicting this type of action, you kind of take it as read that they're going to get through it. But this, you're like, I don't know, they're not that good at it.
From the early scenes where you just sort of see us kind of existing as a family and kind of, the sort of gentle bickering and kidding that goes on within a family, all that felt very familiar to me. I felt like I've done movies where, okay, I've done this sort of scene before. And then slowly, or not very slowly, it just quickly kind of changes when all of a sudden kind of a riot breaks out that I'm in the middle of, and I'm rushing back to the hotel, and they're kind of storming the hotel and the grounds of the hotel, and it just felt like something that, even though it obviously has elements of an action movie, it felt like something believable, the situations that we're sort of put into, and felt relatable. And I know just from growing up, kind of seeing the stress that my parents had kind of raising us. I mean, it's stressful with kids, taking them to do anything, just taking them to, the zoo, the circus, anything with kids is stressful. So moving your kids to Southeast Asia to begin a new job is already a very tense thing. And then you add, all of these elements, and it just, I don't know, I just think it made for kind of an exciting story.
I am on the record saying that I am supremely...
But off the record. I'd love to hear that.
Okay, I am on the record and off the record on the record saying that Owen is amazing in this movie. No, but truly, he is so profoundly committed and hyper sort of... like for me, it was really fun because I guess we had never worked together before, and it's interesting to be in a situation where I thought, oh, when we would work together, perhaps it would be a comedy, but in this instance, we both are putting ourselves in a zone that's not so comfortable, and Owen definitely took the lead on going there and taking it very seriously and navigating really difficult circumstances and kind of making them very real. And honestly, he set the tone for how far we're going to go and how deeply we will commit to each scene and each imaginary circumstances. So I attribute, I'm really proud of my performance, and I attribute a lot to, obviously just the camaraderie that we had, and feeling safe that I could play with someone, and be able to go there without being self-conscious about it, but really committing fully to something quite seriously.
I think that for him playing this character, it was kind of exciting to see him doing something that's, heroic, but also, it's sort of, right in the beginning, seeing Bond do karaoke isn't something that you knew how much you wanted until you see him doing it. And then you watch it, and it's like great. And seeing him kind of play this sort of, it's almost like kind of like a guy who had been in like a rock and roll band, kind of a burnout, who's now moved to Southeast Asia, and who knows what they're up to there. And so then when it kind of takes makes the transition into what the movie becomes, I think it's a nice kind of surprise.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Pierce Brosnan becomes kind of a comedic respite to the insanity that's going on around us. That he does sort of finely dance between sort of this like humor and also this renegade kind of badass, mysterious lifesaver. So he definitely. He dances with that beautifully, I think.
I think that John and Drew did a great job with the script, and in those scenes kind of communicating that that's where we really draw our strength from, is from our family and from the people that love us, and that's in everyday life, and then certainly in these kind of extraordinary circumstances that this movie puts us in. It's still the same thing. That's what sustains us. And in the beginning of the movie, it's a bit shaky between us, and this brings us a lot closer.
I think I'm a new mom. I'm 10 months into being a mom, and I remember shooting that scene and feeling, trying to think about how to connect to that. And we were in a situation where, it's quite animal and quite like it's in us anyway, whether you're a parent or not, that, just to protect the human spirit, and to be tested in phenomenal ways. We are tremendously resilient, but also when challenged, can rise up and be fierce, far more fierce than we realize we can, and this is definitely a story about survival, and it definitely poses that question of, what would you do?